Before we get into today's video, if you're someone who's interested in retro modded consoles like Game Boy Advances, Game Boy SPs, or Game Boy Colors, we have them all at privateclubcollective.com. We even have over 30 t-shirts where you can get one for yourself or for a loved one at privateclubcollective.com. So, without further ado, let's head into the video. Few horror films have had the chilling impact of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Its brutal, raw depiction of terror left audiences shaken, and its marketing added to the fear by claiming it was based on a true story. But how much of it really is real? Today, we're going to dive into the true story that inspired the iconic film, and trust me, it is just as disturbing as its fictional counterpart. When the Texas Chainsaw Massacre hit theaters in 1974, it was marketed with the added layer of based on true events. This helped immerse audiences in another layer of horror, but the storyline of a family of cannibalistic killers terrorizing young travelers isn't entirely factual. Its roots was based on a real-life monster named Ed Gein. For some backstory, Ed Gein was a reclusive farmer from Plainfield, Wisconsin in the 1950s. While his crimes were not as extensive as Leatherface and his cannibalistic family, his crimes still infamously shocked the nation and inspired movies that we know and love today, like Norman Bates from Psycho and Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. Ed Gein was known to be a quiet but eccentric man in his rural small town. In the year of 1957, a woman by the name of Bernice Warden had gone missing, and later authorities had found her decapitated body at his farmhouse. Upon entering the residence, they noticed that a lot of the furniture was made from human skin and other body parts that were exhumed from graveyards that hadn't just been used for future projects yet, future twisted projects. Now, director Hooper had definitely drawn the gruesome obsession of crafting objects out of human skin from Ed Gein, but he claims that the cannibalistic family came just from the idea of backwoods violence that we commonly see, as well as one day he was walking in the mall and was in a crowd of people and just thought, how could I get through all these people? Suddenly a chainsaw had popped into his head, and he said if he had a chainsaw he could easily just rip through all these people and make his way through the mall. That kind of shows a weird gruesome psychological cognitive thing that he came up with, but nonetheless it's what cultivated the character we know today as Leatherface. So back to our question from the beginning of the video: how true is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Well, while Ed Gein never used a chainsaw or had a murderous family, it is quite clear where the inspiration had come from, and it's likely mostly fictional, or you could say entirely fictional, and just from the imagination of a creative director. But what makes this movie so terrifying is its gritty realism, and the fact it feels like it could just happen to anyone, anywhere, because backwoods violence is very much a real thing, and people can go buy a chainsaw and have this gruesome obsession of crafting things from people's remains. Hooper's decision to make this story into a documentary style really heightened the authenticity, and it blurred the lines for audiences between fact and fiction. Now, while I'm not trying to glorify killers, is not the direction of the video, it's just interesting to think that this gruesome obsession of crafting human remains into objects really inspired a lot of our Hollywood films that we know and love today. And it also really makes you uneasy to know that people like this really are lurking in the shadows and walking next to us throughout our lives, and it makes you think just how close these kinds of people are. Now, as I mentioned, I'm not looking to glorify killers here, but in the media, we tend to glorify drug dealers, people who shoot people, and other things as well, and we see where that may have pushed society over the course of the last 10, 20, 30 years, and I wonder, with the likes of the Menendez brothers, the Jeffrey Dahmer documentary or show on Netflix, how will this influence society? I hope it's not going to be in the wrong direction. If you like content like this, be sure to like and subscribe, and comment what other videos you would like to see. Until next time, thank you for watching.